General Oral and Practical. Unit Basic Electricity. Task A. Measure capacitance. What constitutes a capacitor? Two conductors separated by an insulator. Two conductors separated by an insulator. What is the purpose of a capacitor? It stores electrical energy in electrostatic fields. What does a capacitor in an AC circuit cause the current to lead or lag the voltage? Does a capacitor in an AC circuit cause the current to lead or lag the voltage? It causes the current to lead the voltage. What is the basic unit of a capacitance? The farad is the basic unit of capacitance. The farad. Why should electrolytic capacitors not be used in an AC circuit? They are polarized. An electrolytic capacitor will pass current of one polarity but will block current of the opposite polarity. Basic electricity unit B. Calculate inductance. What is meant by inductance? The ability to store electrical energy in electromagnetic fields. What is the basic unit of inductance? The Henry is the basic unit of inductance. What is an example of an inductor used in a magneto? The coil. Does an inductor in an AC circuit cause the current to lead or lag the voltage? It causes the current to lag behind the voltage. How can you find the polarity of an electromagnet? Hold the electromagnet in your left hand with your fingers encircling the coil in the direction electrons flow from negative to positive. Your thumb will point to the north pole of the electromagnet. What is meant by impedance? The total opposition to flow of an alternating current. It is the vector sum of resistance, capacitive reactance, and inductive reactance. It is the vector sum of resistance, capacitive reactance, and inductive reactance. What unit is impedance measured in? Ohms. Impedance is measured in ohms. Basic electricity unit C. Calculate and measure electrical power. What are 5 sources of electrical energy? Magnetism, chemical energy, light, heat, and pressure. What is the basic unit of power in a DC circuit? The watt. What is meant by a kilowatt? 1,000 watts. What is meant by a megawatt? 1,000,000 watts. What is the formula for power in a DC circuit? Power equals voltage times current. Pi. What is the relationship between mechanical and electrical power? 1 horsepower equals 746 watts. What is meant by true power in an AC circuit? The product of the circuit voltage and the current that is in phase with this voltage. In what unit is true power expressed? True power is expressed in watts. What is meant by apparent power in an AC circuit? The product of the circuit voltage and the circuit current. What unit is apparent power expressed in? Volt amps. Apparent power is expressed in volt amps. What is meant by reactive power in an AC circuit? The power consumed in the inductive and capacitive reactances in an AC circuit. Reactive power is also called wattless power. In what unit is reactive power expressed? In volt amps, reactive, abbreviation VAR, or kilovolt amps, reactive, abbreviation kVAR. What is meant by power factor in an AC circuit? The ratio of true power to apparent power. It is also the ratio of circuit resistance to circuit impedance. Basic electricity, unit D. Measure voltage, current, resistance, and continuity. Which law of electricity is the most important for an aircraft mechanic to know? Ohm's law. What are the elements of Ohm's law? Voltage E, current I, and resistance R. Volts, amps, and ohms. Voltage E, which is volts, current I, which is amps, and resistance R, which is ohms. What is voltage? Electrical pressure. What is the basic unit of voltage? The volt. What instrument is used to measure voltage? A voltmeter. To measure voltage, is a voltmeter placed in series or in parallel with the source of voltage? It is placed or connected parallel to the source of voltage, with the source of voltage. What is electrical current? The flow of electrons in a circuit. What is the basic unit of current flow? The ampere, which is amp. What part of an amp is a milliamp? 1,000th of an amp. 0.001 of an amp is a milliamp. What instrument is used to measure current flow? An ammeter is used to measure current flow. What two things happen when current flows through a conductor? Heat is generated and a magnetic field surrounds the conductor. To measure current through a component, is an ammeter placed in parallel or in series with the component? To measure current through a component, Is the ammeter placed parallel or in series with the component? In series. What is meant by resistance in an electrical circuit? The opposition to the flow of electrons. What is the basic unit of electrical resistance? The ohm. What is a mega ohm? 1,000,000 ohms. What four things affect the resistance of an What four things affect the resistance of an electrical conductor? The material, the cross-sectional area, the length, and the temperature. What instrument is used to measure electrical resistance? An ohm meter. How can you tell the resistance of a composition resistor? By a series of colored bands around one end of the resistor. What is meant by continuity of an electrical circuit? The power is continuous or complete when electrons can flow from one terminal of the power source to the other. What instrument is used to measure continuity in an electrical circuit? An ohm meter. When measuring resistance of a component with an ohm meter, should the circuit be energized? No, there should be no power on the circuit. Basic electricity, unit E. Determine the relationship of voltage, current, and resistance in an electrical circuit. What three things must an electrical circuit contain? A source of electrical energy, a load to use the energy, a conductor to join the source and the load. So you need three things: a source of electrical energy, a load to use the energy, and a conductor to join the source and the load. What are three types of DC circuits with regard to the placement of various circuits components? DC series circuit, a DC parallel circuit, or a series parallel DC circuit. What is the name of the law that describes the relationship in an electrical circuit of voltage, current, and resistance? Ohm's law describes the relationship of current, resistance, and voltage. What is the basic equation of Ohm's law? E equals I times R. What formula is used to find current when voltage and resistance are known? I equals E over R. What formula is used to find resistance when voltage and current are known? Resistance over voltage E over amps I. What happens to the current in a DC circuit if the voltage is increased but the resistance remains the same? What happens to the current in a DC circuit if the voltage is increased but the resistance remains the same? Current increases. What happens to the current in a conductor if the length of the conductor is doubled with all other parameters unchanged? the current in a conductor would decrease to 1/2. What is the voltage across a resistor connected in parallel across a 12-volt battery? 12 volts. How much current flows through each of 3 resistors connected in series if the total current is 3 amps? 3 amps. What is the total resistance of 3 12-ohm resistors connected in series? 36 ohms. What is the total resistance of 3 12-ohm resistors connected in series? 36 ohms. What is the total resistance of 3-ohm resistors connected in parallel? 4 ohms. Basic electricity, Unit F. Read and interpret electrical circuit diagrams, including solid-state devices and logic functions. Typical practical objects. Explain to the examiner the various symbols used in an electrical system. A schematic diagram. This unit does not have any questions, only practical projects. Basic electricity, Unit G. Inspect and service lead-acid batteries. What is meant by the capacity rating of a lead-acid battery? The number of hours a battery can supply a given current flow. In what unit is battery capacity expressed? Ampere hours. What electrolyte is used in a lead-acid battery? A mixture of sulfuric acid and water is used in a lead-acid battery. Does the specific gravity of the electrolyte in a lead-acid battery increase or decrease as the battery becomes discharged? It decreases. What is the specific gravity of a fuel-charged lead-acid battery? Between 1.275 and 1.300. How many cells are there in a 24-volt lead-acid battery? 12. What is the range of temperature in an electrolyte lead-acid battery that does not require a correction when measuring its specific gravity? Between 70 Fahrenheit and 90 Fahrenheit. One more time. What is the range of temperatures of an electrolyte lead-acid battery that does not require a correction when measuring its specific gravity? Between 70 Fahrenheit and 90 Fahrenheit. What instrument is used to measure the specific gravity of the electrolyte in a lead-acid battery? Hydrometer. How do you treat a lead-acid battery compartment to protect it from corrosion? Paint it with an asphaltic tar-based paint or with polyurethane enamel. What is used to neutralize spilled electrolyte from a lead-acid battery? A solution of bicarbonate of soda and water. How high should an electrolyte level be in a properly serviced lead acid battery? Only up to the level of the indicator in the cell. Why is the closed circuit voltage of a lead acid battery lower than its open circuit voltage? Voltage is dropped across the internal resistance of the battery. What is the open circuit voltage of a lead acid cell? 2.1 volts. What gases are released when a lead acid battery is being charged? Hydrogen and oxygen. What precautions should be taken in the maintenance shop where both lead acid and nickel cadmium batteries are serviced? The two types of batteries should be kept separate, and tools used on the one should not be used on the other. Basic Electricity Unit H. Inspect and service nickel cadmium batteries. What is the electrolyte used in nickel cadmium battery? Potassium hydroxide and water. Why is a hydrometer not used to measure the state of charge of a nickel cadmium battery? The electrolyte of a nickel cadmium battery does not enter into the chemical changes that occur when the battery is charged or discharged. Its specific gravity does not change appreciably. Is the electrolyte level of a nickel cadmium battery lowest when the battery is fully charged or discharged? Fully discharged. What is the result of an imbalance in a nickel cadmium battery? The low internal resistance allows current flow between the unbalanced cells and generate heat. What is a thermal runaway? The large current flow allowed by the low internal resistance causes the middle cells to produce more heat than they can dissipate. The heat further lowers the internal resistance so more current can flow. This continues until battery destroys itself. How may thermal runaway be prevented? By carefully monitoring the temperature of the middle cells and controlling the charging current to prevent excess of current flowing into the battery. How is it possible to know when nickel cadmium battery is fully charged? When completely discharged, the battery and give it a constant current to charge of 140% of its ampere hour capacity. Completely discharge the battery and give it a constant current charge of 140% of its ampere hour capacity. What is used to neutralize a spilled electrolyte from a nickel cadmium battery? What is used to neutralize spilled electrolyte from a nickel cadmium battery? A solution of boric acid and water. Basic electricity.